All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another mini session. My name is Mike Martinez at the Maricopa County Superintendent of Schools, where I am the Financial Systems Operations Manager, which is just really a long made-up title that I got to pick by yourself because I was under the impression that I got paid by the letter when I started here. I later found out that that was incorrect. But again, welcome to another mini session. We're going to be in our new podcast room today, which is kind of cool. And let me see if I could change this here. We got the Polycom. Yep, there's me, Annette. Wave hi, Annette. Annette's going to be doing lion's share of all the work today. We do have the rest of our team kind of on the phone listening in. So if you have questions throughout the presentation today, feel free to use the chat box and we will respond to those as soon as possible. If there's a really good question, we'll bring it up towards the end when we hit a good stopping point. We're kind of let everybody know have the same answers on there. First of all, some kind of housekeeping things. If you did not get the email invite for this particular webinar, that means you are probably not on the MCSS mailing list. At this point, I would recommend to sign up for it. I will post a link to sign up for the MCSS mailing list in the chat box once we get started here. And that will make sure that you are in the invite list for all these future sessions. You'll get notified when these items get posted on YouTube, and you'll get notified when new sessions are coming up. For example, we have two sessions that are scheduled. We have a session scheduled on March 24th for purchasing and payable remote requisitions, learning how to do requisition approvers, learning how to set it up using your DAX, remote requisitioning. We also have a session on 3/26 for vendor cleanup, getting started with a clean set of vendors for the new year, kind of get you going all fresh and clean. That way you don't take a whole bunch of junk into fiscal year 22. Other things with this session today, I will, in addition to the mailing list link on there, I will post a link to all the documents that are associated with today's session. You don't need them for today, but they are good reference materials. For example, there's a couple of fiscal year end guides in there. There's the fiscal year end guide from last year from Tyler, and there's a recently updated one from our office that's going to be in there, as well as a project plan for breaking down tasks for your fiscal year rollover, and a couple of things that Annette put together for budget control groups and account code cleanup. So other than that, I think we have everything ready to go. We have about 41 participants online right now. If you need to go back through us, I hope to get this video up on YouTube. Probably, I'm not going to lie, it's probably going to be like next Monday or Tuesday or something. But I'm going to go ahead and turn it on over to Annette. And Annette, I'm going to let you take it from here.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Annette Moreno, and I'm here with the Maricopa County School Superintendent's Office. I'm one of 3 itinerant school business managers, and I'm happy to be here with you today just to talk about the fiscal year end rollover with concentration on the GL. We'll go through a little bit of administration to start, but certainly please ask questions as we go along in the chat, and Mike's going to help out with managing that. And so we will go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to cover is the fiscal year rollover settings. So in the general ledger, we will go to the configuration and the fiscal year rollover settings. And you'll want to review these in the current year. What you want to select here is in the settings tab, the fund balance offset. You want to make sure that you've selected the fund balance offset, the correct masking here, which I don't see here. Here we go, fund balance. And then also your accounts payable offset for your purchase order settings. I think that is payable. Okay, want to make sure that you have those sets. In the payroll settings, this is grayed out for our training database, which is what I'm using today. It is grayed out because we haven't done the fiscal year rollover in this setting. So once it is done, then these payroll settings become available, and you should really review these with your payroll department before doing the payroll rollover. Okay. All right, so then the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to go into the connection group access. And where we're going to go next is in the help, where you need to go over to the administration module, where you actually do the fiscal year rollover. Are you going to do the poll, Mike? I didn't know if you were.
I'm sorry. I totally forgot.
I just remembered.
I'm
Hey,
sorry.
I think we had a poll to learn, how many of you have already done rollover.
It's my first day with my new brain. So
let's do that now, I guess.
hold on. Let me start the poll here. Oh, never mind. It's not going to let me pull. It's somebody has stolen my identity again.
Okay.
All right. That's fine.
We're going to move on. Okay, so in the administration module, you're going to be able to do the fiscal year rollover, where it will create your connection group for next year and do some settings in there for the new connection group. So at the help tab, we're going to go to administration. And it'll pop up with your security database. Hopefully it's correct. And you're just going to log in there. And then you're going to select the connection groups here. So if you haven't already done the rollover, and Mike, you might need to help me with this because I didn't. It's under the actions menu, and you're going to do general ledger rollover when you're ready. I'm going to assume everybody's already done that, and you have a new connection group sitting here. So you're going to just edit your new connection group, whatever it's called, the new fiscal year usually. Just double click and open it.
Just a quick side note, for districts that are hosted by our office at the county school superintendents, we do this general ledger rollover for you. And it's mainly there's the naming convention that we use, and then we have to make sure that those items are added to our daily and nightly backups to make sure everything is secure going forward, so you don't end up, in a disaster scenario. So if you are ready, if you have not rolled your general ledger roller and you would like it, you can contact our financial system support representatives over at fss@maricopa.gov, or you can give us a call at 602-372-4833. I believe that's option number 1. For everyone else not hosted by us, you're going to start with the Infinite Visions administration.
Thank you. Okay, so we're in actually edit connection group. So you'll see just some, the name, of course, your fiscal year description. This is where you can actually change the color of your connection group. So you'll select the actions pane color here, and you can select any of the colors to identify when you actually log into that connection group, identify which fiscal year you're in. It's helpful to see unique colors just to identify which is your current year or which is your prior year. Some districts actually have just selected one color for any prior year, all of them, and then a new color for the new fiscal year. So just a suggestion. Okay, so I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to cancel out here. You select the color and say, okay. Okay, so next I would like to just touch base on this read-only checkbox here. So at year end, when your fiscal year is closed, it's good, the AFR has been done, you've closed out all the transactions, you'll want to definitely come back here and select read-only on your prior fiscal year. This is where you're going to give users access to your connection group. Of course, they're going to come in as all, the access that they had in prior years. So in the actions menu is where you're going to grant all users access, remove, edit, and so forth. So for the new fiscal year, you will probably most definitely need to go in and do the post rollover tasks that we're going to talk about today. There's probably there's GL cleanup to do. There's maybe implementing a new piece of the module in accounting. If you want to add, say you need to add your student activities funds, you want to get all of that prepared and ready for the new year before you open your transactions, and also before you give all of your users access to that connection group. So I would normally go in each year, and I would remove the entity users access. So I'm going to select that, and it just removes all the access for all the users. Then I would go into actions and I would edit the user's access. And I would give only those people that, this looks different than, there's no users.
Yeah, this is a training database and we don't have any dedicated users for this. So that's why you're not seeing anything here, because we're global users. But normally you would have a list of all the people that are in administration and user security for your district on here. And you would select which ones you want to give access, because obviously when you create a new year, you don't want to just, because when you create it, it's instantly out there. So anyone who has access to your district can say, oh, look, FY 21-22 is out there. Let's go in there and start screwing things up. Stop that right in its tracks by the moment after you do your general ledger rollover here. Come in here, remove everybody's access, and only give access to those people that you know are going to be getting in there to set it up. And once it's all set up and you're ready to go, then you can open it back up to everybody.
Exactly. So you would see a list of all of your users here, and you would just basically check mark which ones you want to give access, and you just click OK. So I'm going to just cancel there. That's also where you would do, I'm going to go ahead and open it up. I'm going to grant all users access. So once you're done with all your GL cleanup, anything that you new that you wanted to implement in the new fiscal year, everything is ready to go. You want to grant all users access again. Okay, so we're going to select that.
Can we go back into the actions? I just want to touch on the last two things on here in case anyone gets curious about it, because it's one of those things where curiosity can kill you. First of all, the two items at the bottom, set system access, that's really more of an administrator thing. And when I say administrator, I mean like an IT administrator. And that's usually done after you do an Infinite Visions update, or if there's an issue with your Infinite Visions update. And the last one, send connection group back up to Tyler. That works on again, off again. If there is a support call, there's an option. There should be an option where you send connection group to Tyler. I find that sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. Usually they will send you like a Kiteworks link that you can go ahead and upload your database backups to, but that's only if you need to. So for the most part, you guys can just ignore those last two items on there.
Good, thank you. So I'm going to go back into the edit users access. And actually this looked a little differently when I tested all this, I'm sorry. But anyway, you could actually select users and give them read only if you wanted to do that also. There's also another menu item under actions to mark all users read only. So that's also an option if you wanted to just have them be able to look at the new year and just not do anything or make any transactions. Okay, so those are the options for giving access to your connection group. Okay, we're going to move on. I'm going to cancel it here. All right, so we're going to get out of administration. I think that's all we wanted to do there. Okay, so now we're going to go into, I only have one connection group, so I can't show you how to change the connection group. It is just a button here at your panel there. So change connection group if you need to the new fiscal year. So we're going to actually go into update the GL default settings in the new year. Okay, so you want to review these. Under the district information tab, you're going to want to just check everything over. Mainly what needs to be reviewed is your fiscal dates. Make sure that those are for the new year. Your start date, July 1, 21, your end date, June 30th, 22, and your transactions begin 7/1 of 21. Okay. Make sure that your budget information is correct. Your current year is 21 and your, well, the current year would be 22, sorry, prior year would be 21. And then also you're going to want to set your budget columns here, prior year and so forth. Some of them are going to come in, but you will want to go back and set these. And I'm going to be going into the budget columns in a little bit later in the presentation. So you want to just check those and set those up accordingly. And I believe that is it. Everything should roll over from the prior year. You just want, again, just verify that everything came over correctly. Okay. Cross-year update. Just want to touch base on this. This is another area you're going to want to just review with your payroll HR department. This information actually rolls over. So if you want to change something prior to, rollover, you can change it in the old year, the prior year, it will roll over. But you just definitely want to look this over and make sure you understand what's going to happen as far as dual entry or, what changes in the prior year will affect new year, what changes in the new year affect old year, and so forth. So going back and forth. Okay. All right, so that's all we need to do there. Okay, so the next item I wanted to cover is actually in purchasing and payables. So we're going to go into purchasing and payables really quick. This is just kind of tied into, setting up the new year. So in configuration, we want to do the default settings. And we're going to make sure that you set your requisition number. If you use, some sort of sequence that identifies the fiscal year, go ahead and put those new numbers, starting numbers in the requisition number field and the PO number field. Set those. The other thing you want to check is the calendar begin date and the calendar end date for the 1099 settings. Make sure those are for 21. And also that the limits here set are still accurate. Sales tax freight, again, just look over everything. If there's any changes that you want to make, these are your purchasing and payable default settings. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to dive into more of what do we need to do in the GL to clean up? And I did cover this a few weeks ago. So it's just going to be kind of going over a few of those items again, and mainly in the chart of accounts. Okay, so a few considerations before we get started for dual enrollment or dual entry in the GL. A few of these items here, like the chart of accounts, budget control groups, account type masks, the budget columns, and the banking information. All of those items, if you have any changes made in the prior year, you will also want to do them in the new year. They don't roll. Once you've rolled the general ledger, you will want to make them in both changes in both years in those areas. There's one exception in the chart of accounts. If you add a new account in the prior year, it will add in the new year. Okay. But it doesn't add any, like, say, budget control group, assignment, or anything like that. You want to make those types of changes in the new year also. All right, so back to GL cleanup. So again, it's these tasks is where do I get started? What do I need to look at maybe cleaning up? So the first thing I wanted to just go over is the account elements. And a good start would be to maybe review the USFR. Are there any changes? Do we need to add funds? Do we need to just change descriptions on some things? So I'm going into the account elements. I'm going to select all for now and apply selection. So this, again, any grid can be exported to Excel if you'd like to just work in Excel and kind of highlight and do some highlighting and, going back and forth just as a way to manage the task. But I'm just going to scroll through here and I see a couple of funds here that are undefined. So I would go back and say, are those really legitimate funds? Probably not. I'm going to clean those up. There is one I'm going to focus in on, and that's 088. Not sure what that was used for. Maybe I'm new in my position with the district, and gosh, I don't know what that is. It's not a valid fund as far as USFR, but it could have been just, kind of a sub fund that that the district wanted to use. So I'm going, for my purposes today, I'm going to use that 088 just to do a little bit of cleanup. So again, just review your elements, make sure that your descriptions are accurate, highlight any of those that you want to just clean up. As far as object codes, make sure you're using the correct object codes according to the USFR and function codes and so forth. So that's probably a good place to start. I'm going to cancel here. Oh, I guess I could go, anytime you do have something you want to change, you just double click and open it and change the description, whatever it is. And of course, I like to do the right click. You can edit, you can add, you should be able to add.
When you do the add, you have to have an element name specified and apply selection, because you can only add when only that item is on there. So for example, you'd hit the drop down and do fund. That's the only time that you could add a new fund.
Right. Add. Okay. And then you just fill all the information out that you need. Okay.
And it's not going to let you delete any element out there if it's tied to an account code. So in Annette, we'll get to that, the account code cleanup in a little bit. But if you have items you need to clean up, there's a whole slew of steps that need to be done for it. And it's just going to be a constant chore. And it's one of those things that if you've ignored it for long enough, it's just going to seem like it's unmanageable. Yeah. But this is kind of where it ends, and you can kind of clean up all the funds and the object codes and whatnot that you don't use. If you have like project codes that look 5, 6, 7 years old, there's no point in keeping those kind of things around.
Yeah, there's just, a lot. It's a lot. So one of the things I know that I used when I was at a district, like the soft capital, I would go in and I'd say, this was used, oops, that soft capital last year, if I could spell, last used, oops, FY12. I would put it in the description. So I would be able to go back and,
Zara just pointing out the question that came in when you
okay. I would go back, I would be able to, clean up as many accounts as I could, clean up all those accounts. And then, when my records retention was over, I could go back and I could start deleting those elements. I can delete all the accounts, delete those elements and so forth. So just kind of a little tip that might help you to manage it. I'm going to cancel there. Okay, so yeah, like Mike said, we have to go out and we have to actually delete the accounts that are attached to any of these elements if you want to clean those up. Okay, so there's a question.
Can you repeat the items that need to have double entry in the new year?
Yes, they are the budget control groups, account type masks, budget columns, and the banking information. Of course, the chart of accounts, any of these elements in here, basically. The account code, if you're adding an account code in the prior year, it will automatically add in the new year. Okay. All right. The other way that I always kind of started my GL cleanup is using the fund balance report. So I'm going to close the chart of accounts right now. I'm going to go to my reports and I'm going to the fund balance report. And I'm just going to select, whatever year, but you usually do this at the fiscal year end report in the prior year. And you would want to see the cash and so forth. So you can select those. I'm not going to do that for this purpose. And what I look for is, of course, obsolete or just basically inactive funds. They have zero balances. They didn't have a beginning balance, revenue, expense. They're all zeros across the columns. So I start taking a look at those. And again, if I've made the description, a prior fiscal year, I can identify them pretty quickly if they're showing up on this report. So I just print this off, highlight the ones I want to clean up and move on. So that's just another tool that you can use to maybe identify funds or accounts that maybe need to be inactivated or deleted and just cleaned up. Okay. I'm going to get out of this report. All right, so the next thing I'm going to go into is inactivating accounts. So we're going to go back to the general ledger, chart of accounts, and we're going to use account code input. So this is where you add accounts, you edit descriptions if you need to, and you can inactivate or activate accounts. Please use your account filter. This is very much a tool you need to get used to using. Minimize this. Okay, so I'm going to focus in on that fund 088, and I'm going to select, I want to see all the accounts with 088 fund. I'm going to apply the selection, and it's going to show me all the accounts sitting out there in the GL, and they are active. I don't want them to be active, and actually I want to delete them. I could just go in and activate them. So with them on the grid, the actions to update account status will change all of the records on the grid. Okay, so I'm going to update the account status. I'm going to inactivate all of these accounts. Okay, so now
I just want to make sure that everybody is clear and understand that action item will inactivate everything that you have on your grid. And so when you're cleaning this up at your district and you do that and you forget about it and you accidentally inactivate every account code that your district has, I just want you to know that we told you so and you didn't listen, or you went off and you went and grabbed a drink during this part of the webinar. It inactivates everything. Yeah. Like all things, if you mess something up like that, there's ways where you pull from a backup and try and fix it for you. But it is kind of embarrassing, but you would not be the first person to have done that. And I'm surprised that there's not another prompt on there that says this will update everything in the grid like they've done elsewhere in Infinite Visions. So I just want to hammer that home. Everything on the grid gets impacted. So be careful with it.
Definitely. Okay, so I've inactivated those accounts. And I really just would like to get rid of them, but just a little bit more about deleting accounts. So we know that accounts are integrated throughout the system, payroll records, purchasing and payable records, all of those things. One of the areas that we most recently found in trying to delete an account is on archived employees, the deductions actually have funding lines. And we found that if there was an archived employee with deduction lines funding, that it wouldn't allow us to delete an account. So really be careful when you're archiving employees. You want to make sure you're going through that termination wizard, or whatever it is, that you clear out those deduction funding lines. so that in the future, when you want to delete accounts, you're going to be able to and not have to go through, and kind of just, try to figure out what happened with that account. So just a little bit of advice there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and also failed to mention that the account codes also are attached to budget columns. And so the system will trigger, I'm going to go ahead and delete these accounts. It will trigger an error, I hope. There is one account here that's sitting on a budget control or a budget column that will need to be cleared prior to deleting the account. So again, I'll show you how to clear budget columns so that you will be able to clear or delete an account. So I'm going to highlight these records here on the grid, and I'm going to select delete. So you can do mass delete. Again, you can do it from the top, your button bar there, or you could do a right click and delete. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Oh, it didn't work the way I wanted it to. Well, anyway, I will go and show you how to clear the budget column anyway on a different account. So I'm going to select maybe a different fund, or I can select really anything in this account filter, any accounts. Okay, so I'm going to select 625, all the 6,000s. Okay, all the expense accounts. Again, these are they're inactive. I could delete them if I wanted to. And it will, if an account again is attached to a budget column, it will alert you that it won't delete that account. It will still be in this grid. Once you've deleted the accounts that you wanted, you selected, highlighted, it will leave those, it will delete them, the ones that it can, but it will leave those that may have been attached to a budget column. And I'm sorry that our training database isn't working quite the way it should be. So, but I know that that piece works. Okay, so that's a little bit about deleting accounts. So we're going to now go into the budget columns. All right, so that's in budgeting and the budget configuration. Here's your budget column maintenance. Okay, so here's the list of budget columns. Of course, you can edit any of these records. You can add, this is where you want to add your budget columns for the new year. So you can just do add, budget type, 22 proposed. And we're going to just copy that. Yep. And you select show current transactions if necessary, use journal if you're going to use a journal, budget journals. You want to select your status, unlocked. And your start and end date really I've not used the start and end date. I believe Mike, do you know what?
They're just informational.
Yeah, really.
They're informational. I guess if you were doing
necessary,
doing like a partial year budget
Yeah.
or something like that, they're in there. They don't do anything.
they don't do much. Yeah.
If you put 7/1 to 6/30, it's not going to
It's
make
not.
any difference if you
Mhm.
leave it blank. So
And then also if you do budget notes, it'll allow you to do budget notes and you select how many notes you would like to use. And those are extra columns that you can add or for information. Okay, so that's how you add. I'm going to add that. And then also, so you make note. Are there too many here? Some districts have rolled over their budget columns and have not done any cleanup. So really what we suggest is maybe 5 years back and the most recently revised budget is probably all you need for each fiscal year. So your list should be pretty small, 5 years plus the current year. And however many you need, you would need a proposed, adopted, and maybe a working budget for the new year. But otherwise, I would go and clean up all of the other prior years other than 5 years worth. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that really quick.
And even when you delete a column out of here, it's still in your old year connection group. So
Definitely.
if we're in FY22 and you're cleaning all this stuff up and you want to go bare bones and you're like, I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to clean everything up. You're going to go bare bones. You're going to get rid of everything and start importing them, just the data that you want to carry forward. You'll still have all that stuff in FY21, FY20, FY19, all those old years still have all that stuff. That doesn't change for you. What you want to do is you just want to clean this stuff up. So going forward, or at least for this year, you have only what you really need in order to do whatever job you have.
Exactly. Okay, we're going to close that. So we're going to go to the budget utilities menu, and there's a budget clearing utility. Very useful. So like I was explaining earlier, there might be accounts that, you've cleaned up majority of the accounts, say in 625, but there's just a couple left that are attached to a budget column. And so we want to go ahead and filter. You can actually filter down on what account you need to clear. So like I did those 625, 6,000, I'm just going to filter on that piece. And I'm going to select, my first budget column there. And I'm just going to clear the records for those accounts. And I'm going to delete the detailed records from that budget column. Okay. And you click OK, and it would clear it. So I'm clicking, let's see. Already cleared. Okay. So you would want to continue to select on the budget columns that you really want to get rid of for any accounts, or you can actually clear the whole column, which I'll show you. Okay, so if you have specific accounts, you use the account filter, and you'd have to go to each budget column and clear those accounts before you could delete them. Okay, so in order to clear a whole column, though, you would just, of course, not filter on the account filter. Okay, you leave this all question mark, and you delete detailed records. You select the column that you want to clear. Okay, and it will clear that column. Then you would be able to go back to the budget column maintenance and delete that budget column.
And the difference between those two options right there, the delete detail and there's a 0 FTE and 0 amount there, is think of it as an Excel spreadsheet just full of your budget, where you have an account line on one column, you have an amount, and you have an FTE. So the first option, the 0 budget and FTE, zeros that amount in FTE, but leaves everything in there. The delete detail record pretty much deletes your entire worksheet worth of information, if you think of it like that. So that's the big difference. So if you were just wanted to clear out amounts, maybe you were getting ready to import a brand new budget, maybe you had your capital expenses, you had that in a spreadsheet, you want to import that fresh from Excel. You can go in there and you can delete all of those stuff from those funds in there, just zero out those budget amounts and just re-import everything. Or you can delete detail if you want to completely wipe it out.
Yep. Thank you, Mike. Yes, I have definitely used that feature, the 0 budget and FTE amounts. Okay. All right. So I think, are there any questions?
Good so far.
All good. Okay, so I'm going to go into the budget control groups. So the other area to maybe review or even implement, if you haven't already implemented them, is budget control groups. So budget control groups gives you the ability to manage your budget, manage specific parts of your budget, manage a grant. You can, set up a budget control group for each grant, which is what I did. and select all the accounts and assign the accounts to that budget control group. And it will alert you when you've, there's a couple of settings, and I will go and show you those settings in the DAX setup that you'll want to implement if you want to start maintaining your budget using the control groups. So let me go and show you those settings really quick here. It's in security workflow configuration in the DAC accounts, the distributed accountability centers. In the DAC setup, I'm going to use the district office. There's a couple of budget control settings here. Check budget. If you set that, then it opens up the maintain budget limit. So when you set up budget control groups and the list of accounts has exceeded a budget amount, it will alert you. It will just send you a little warning when you have this setting, check budget. If you have maintained budget limit, it will just stop you and it won't let you go any further with any purchase requisitions and so forth. So until you actually make a budget adjustment.
When you roll over these options, typically a lot of people will uncheck these options because they haven't finished putting their budget into the new year yet. So in FY22, you might turn this off because you don't want to hold up your AP people getting started with their requisitions and getting the POs ready that they need to start off the fiscal year. But once you're rolling, there is absolutely no reason why these boxes should not be checked. Once you have your budget in there, and this is just a training database, so it's unchecked, of course. But everybody should have these options on there. They are absolutely key in kind of keeping track and making sure people aren't spending out of accounts that they shouldn't. Maybe people don't overexpend accounts. And budget control groups really help out with a lot of these because it allows you to group those things together. So if you have that project or that grant, or maybe you put your auxiliary funds or your student funds in here and you want to track all those, keeps people from accidentally overspending stuff so you don't end up having to cover.
Yep. Yes, definitely. Okay, so that's a little bit about those settings. Again, that's in your DAX setup. All right, we're going to go back to our budget control groups. Okay, so here I already have a pretty good list. But I'm just going to add one. I'm just going to right click, add, and I'm going to call it my, I don't know.
Nets group.
Budget control is fun. And I'm going to set it as budget, but there is a different type. You could select cash, and then you would also have to select the cash account associated with maybe the group of accounts that you would, you're setting that budget control group for. All right, so I'm going to select that. All right, so then once it's set up, you can go out to your account code input and you can actually set up, sorry, I had that open. You can assign that budget control group to your selected accounts. So right now, I'm just gonna change my filter here. And I'm gonna select, let's see, 2,500, 6,000. See what comes up here. Oh, I'm gonna narrow this down. Let's see if there's any 6,300s out here. All right, so there's quite a few accounts here. Okay, and I'm going to narrow it down even further. I see a 6. Let's do 0, 0. Okay, so I've narrowed my accounts down. Actually, I'm going to select the active accounts. Make sure you're selecting active accounts. And I'm going to actually change the budget control group for these accounts. So I'm going to highlight them. Again, you have to select the accounts that you want to assign a budget control group to. Okay, you go to Actions and Assign Budget Control Group. And then I want my new one. You just select the one from the list. I start typing and it just found it right away. I'm going to say okay, and has been assigned. There it is. Okay.
And you'll notice that it overwrote the one account that already had a budget control group. It overwrote that budget control group for that account. You can only have one budget control group per account. So you can't go crisscross or anything like that. It's only one per account. So do be careful when you do this. When you do this option, make sure you're looking at the grid and you're not accidentally overriding a budget control group for somebody else.
Yes. Good point.
Unless it's on purpose or you don't like that person. Either one of those is valid.
Okay, so say I don't want, I'm gonna undo what I don't want any budget control group assigned to these accounts. These are not even true accounts. I don't want to use those anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and unassign these from a budget control group. So I'm going to go to Actions again, highlight your accounts, Actions, assign budget control groups, but this time I'm going to leave it blank. Okay, so you leave it blank and has been assigned to the selected accounts, it's blank. Okay, so that's how you eliminate or you remove the budget control group from a group of accounts. Okay. Back to the budget control groups. You can just change the description here. If you don't like it or you want to add something, it will just automatically change in all of the account records. If you want to edit those. What else? I think that's really all there is to budget control groups. Setting them up and assigning to accounts. Again, you want to make sure you put the accurate budget into those accounts so that your budget checking is working the way you want it to work. But that's really it to budget control groups. And that really is the end of the material that I wanted to cover. And so up for questions. How are we on time? We're doing good with time.
Yeah, we got a couple minutes left. We got about 10 minutes left till the end of the hour.
Okay.
So if anyone has any questions or anything specific that you'd like to see while we have Annette on the line here. There is, and then we kind of glossed over it, and it really is a lot of work. There is a lot of work in cleaning up account codes. Because when it comes down to it, it took your district 10 years to get to where it is now. It's going to take you more than a couple hours to clean up the account codes if no one's done anything. So if you're a district that we host, we do have some queries to kind of help and aid in that. If you need some help or you need some assistance, we'll be happy to help. We can kind of give you a push in the right direction and be able to clean up a lot of stuff automatically. If we don't host your information and you're interested in some of the queries we use and maybe you host Infinite Visions on your own, I'd be happy to send you what we've kind of used in the past to clean up account codes. I have no problem with that. I will send you directly to you. Yes, we have a question. Is this recorded? It is absolutely recorded. I will have this up on YouTube sometime next week. So make sure you check the chat. If you are not on the EASE mailing list, you need to get on that EASE mailing list because we'll send out notifications when the video is posted. We'll also send out notifications tomorrow afternoon. We'll send out invites for our new sessions that we have coming up after spring break. All right, so a couple items in the chat. There's the mailing list. The mailing list is opt-in. So even if you think you are signed up, if you didn't get the invite, go in and sign up again, because if we get enough bounce backs, that your information gets scrubbed off our list. So if you're out of office for a long time, I believe it just thinks that somebody fired you. So make sure you add in if you haven't gotten an email from us. Again, I'll send out an email Friday afternoon with the new sessions and the link next week for the videos once they are available. Because it does take a little bit of a while to get the videos together. I'm still learning the video stuff, so it's my new hobby.
Oh, you're doing great.
I do enjoy it. It gives me something to do. Gives me something, not like I don't have anything else to do right now. All right, if there's no other questions, we will go ahead and release you from your time with us. Again, thank you for joining us again. It's been fun having these sessions. It's really kind of cool having the new equipment we got to use today. This is my first time actually using this podcaster room for what it was meant for. Our session tomorrow on salary schedules, we're going to be doing that hopefully in our other room, our tech center room, which has room for up to 4 speakers. So I'll test out that room and see if I can't mess up that one too. So thank you, everybody. It was fun today. Thank you, Annette, for all the great information. There's a lot of good information and there's a lot of documents. Go ahead and download. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Annette. It's annette.moreno@maricopa.gov. Send her all your questions. She'll be happy to answer. Or you send it to mike.martinez@maricopa.gov, in which case I will forward your question to Annette.
Thank you.
Because that is the circle of everything rolls downhill, Annette.
I'm happy. Yes, I'm happy to help.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great afternoon. Have a great weekend if we don't see you tomorrow, and be safe out there.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks a lot. It's great. We could always we could have a duet in here.
Oh my goodness.
Let's
not go overboard.
I can't sing. I can't sing. I'm like, why did I volunteer for this?
Yeah.
Stupid,
I started eliminating things.
Right.
I'm heading down.
Wait till Fridays when I start wearing Hawaiian shirts.
Oh, that would be so great.
Why are you not wearing Hawaiian shirts now? You're here on Fridays.
It's too cold. I have a temperature limit.
It's too cold. What are you, like 55 and old? Oh, yes.
Oh.
Oh,
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.